In the entire history of Vietnamese football, there's one man who had influenced the nation so much his legacy is still being talked about to this day. From his arrival to departure from Vietnam, he's always left an impression of success and loyalty to the country's football rise. His name is Park Hang-seo, and when he first came to Vietnam, he was relatively unknown to the fans, but the days and months that he spent with the Golden Dragons have been etched in their hearts since. In this video, I will tell you the story of how this seemingly friendly gentleman revolutionized a footballing nation that was on the brink of collapse. So sit back and enjoy it. It all began in December 2016, when Vietnam narrowly missed the AFF Cup final following an emotional return leg at home against Indonesia. Two late, dramatic goals forced the game into extra time, but a 10-man Vietnam conceded a penalty that sent the Garudas to the final. Less than a year later, Vietnamese fans suffered even more heartbreak as they witnessed the U23 team exit the SEA Games men's football competition from the group stage, after bitter rivals Thailand thrashed them 3-0. This same Vietnam team had young players with so much potential to become future stars, but that only added more salt to the injury as everybody feared the whole nation's collapse would never truly bring out their absolute best. So on October 17th, VFF appointed South Korean coach Park Hang-seo to lead the Vietnam national and U23 team, and this decision initially faced mass suspicion. Park had only previously led some small Korean clubs and couldn't communicate in English, so understandably, this was a huge gamble. 3 months later, however, it paid off big time. In January 2018, Park took on his first mission with the Vietnam U23, the same team that flopped at the previous SEA Games, as they went into the U23 Asian Cup. Vietnam landed in the tournament's group of death alongside South Korea, Australia, and Syria, and nobody expected them to achieve anything noteworthy. However, Vietnam admirably evaded the group stage despite losing to the Koreans on the opening day, as they made a statement 1-0 upset of the Socceroos before holding off Syria to a goalless draw, finishing in second place and making the quarterfinals. At this point, people knew Park was onto something. The knockout stage put Vietnam up against West Asian powerhouse Iraq, but a thrilling 6-goal draw eventually went to a decisive penalty shootout, where keeper Bùi Tiến Dũng saved the Lions of Mesopotamia's first spot kick, which was more than enough to knock them out. But the fairy tale didn't end there, as Vietnam faced yet another West Asian outfit in Qatar, as the Maroons took the lead twice in the semi-final. But Nguyen Quang Hai stepped up with 2 goals of his own, before the Golden Dragons once again came out victorious via penalties, setting foot into the final. Despite losing to Uzbekistan at the last hurdle, second place was still a major achievement for Park & Co., setting up a bright future for Vietnamese football. 7 months later, Park reunited with his beloved U23 squad, as Vietnam partook in the ASEAN 18 men's football competition. A surprising first-place finish in Group C, including a narrow win against Japan, once again lit up hopes for the fans. Vietnam overcame Bahrain in the round of 16 thanks to a late goal from Công Phuoc, before clashing with Syria again in the quarterfinals, who hadn't forgotten the U23 heartbreak earlier that year. But an extra time goal from Van Tuan extended the Syrian pain further and pushed Vietnam to the semis. Even though Park's home country, South Korea, stopped him dead in his tracks yet again, before his team lost to the UAE and missed out on the bronze medal, a top 4 finish in Asia remained an impressive feat, as Park proved his coaching skills once more. After 2 already successful trials, Park faced the last challenge of 2018 as the Vietnam national team revisited the graveyard known as the AFF Cup. Illustrious performances in the group stage featured a 2-0 thumping against Malaysia and 3-0 breezes past Laos and Cambodia sent Vietnam to the semi-finals, where they knocked out the Philippines to encounter Harimau Malaya once more in the final. This time, Park did not disappoint, as Nguyen Anh Duc's iconic volley handed the title to Vietnam, ending a decade-long drought in vibrant 2018 for Vietnamese football. With such a brilliant generation in his hands, Park shortly after flew to the UAE, as Vietnam entered the Asian Cup 2019. Group D was no easy task, because despite valiant efforts, Vietnam lost to Iraq and Iran, 2 of Asia's best national teams. Suddenly, fans started doubting Park, as perhaps this whole time he had been bullying weaker oppositions and didn't yet show his true colors against stronger ones. He did anyway, as Vietnam beat Yemen 2-0 on the final match day to to become the very last team featuring in the knockouts. Jordan awaited the Golden Dragons there, who had just defeated reigning champions Australia, but it didn't matter as Vietnam won another penalty shootout to reach the quarters again after 12 years. Unfortunately, the Cinderella run came to an end as Japan overcame Vietnam, but even in victory, the Blue Samurai had a tough fight, only scoring from a Ritsudan penalty. This served as evidence that Park didn't just know how to win small games, he could indeed go far in continental stages. Park Hang-seo's next task was like none other. It was a long game in the name of World Cup 2022 qualification. Minus the UAE, this group you're looking at would be considered an AFF Cup group of death, which explains why the stakes for Vietnam to succeed were sky high. And they did, as the Golden Dragons went unbeaten against all regional rivals, with notable results including 2 hard-fought draws against Thailand, a 4-0 thumping of Indonesia, and a 1-0 upset against the UAE. These were enough to land Vietnam in the third and final round of AFC World Cup qualifying for the first time ever, where Park and co would go up against some of Asia's absolute best like Japan, Australia, and Saudi Arabia. In this round, Vietnam went on a 7-game losing streak, causing fans to strike them with doubt once more, but they all stopped complaining when Vietnam defeated China 3-1 at home on Lunar New Year, marking ASEAN's first ever victory in the final round of World Cup qualifying. Less than 2 months later, Vietnam bid farewell to the World Cup dream with a historic away draw against Japan, something not even Australia or Saudi Arabia could pull off in this campaign. Fans were right to be sad about missing the big stage, but the journey that Vietnam pulled off was nothing short of memorable. In the midst of all this, Park Hang-seo went on some stud quests leading Vietnam's U23 in the SEA Games men's football for 2019 and 22. With the help of the Golden Generation, Vietnam finally claimed the gold medal after beating Indonesia 3-0 in Manila, ending a 60-year drought. 3 years later, on home soil, Park pulled off an even more difficult feat by defending the gold medal, as Vietnam overcame Thailand in the final, winning the tournament with fully clean sheets. SEA Games 31's gold medal also marked the Korean boss's final competition with Vietnam's youth teams, and title altogether for the footballing nation. However, in between the glory, Park's tenure has had some downs. After a miraculous charge to the U23 Asian Cup final in 2018, he couldn't recreate that same magic in 2020, as Vietnam's succeeding generation of that age didn't live up to expectations, and consequently the team was grouped. A similar story of folding under pressure from past success occurred again twice in the AFF Cup, as after winning the 2018 title, Park was unable to help Vietnam touch the trophy in the following 2 editions. The 2022 campaign in particular was rather unfulfilled, as he previously announced this would be his final journey with Vietnamese football before his contract ends. So the players wanted to give him one final gift ahead of his departure. However, a 1-0 away defeat to Thailand in the final broke this streak, and Park had to depart on the low note. This loss also meant he was never able to help Vietnam defeat the War Elephants in a major tournament, something fans had long yearned for considering the rise of the national team. Although he couldn't fulfill every wish, Park Hang-seo had an undeniably successful tenure with Vietnamese football. From being an unknown Korean man to a beloved sports hero, Park etched himself in the hearts of 100 million people through his character, closeness, and most importantly, coaching skills. He made Vietnam stop looking like an inferior opposition for anybody and propelled them to new heights that no one thought of back then. Over 3 years after leaving, and he still remains the golden standard for any coach stepping into the Vietnam job. This marks the end of my video. Thank you so much for making it this far. I truly hope you enjoyed this essay. It's not easy to pick myself up to make these long videos. If you like my content, do consider liking and subscribing, as my channel is pretty small right now, as you can see. And I'll see you in the next one.